Wake up, wake up, wake up. It's old truck driver Kip, aka the Rooster. Just here to let you know, riding with my main hen, riding shotgun. Miss, y'all better beware. Told y'all, I crack my eggs early in the morning.
Reels and Catch. Woo, child. I'm your host, Fish Face Allen. I will be bringing tips and reporting on amazing fishing stories and how to catch, hook the big one that got away.
Peace and love. Peace and love, family. This is your brother CE, family. I need your help, family. I got a family heirloom. I call her Big Pearl. She's been in the family for years. My great grandpappy drove her, and she's been passed down from generation to generations. She needs repairing, family. It's going to cost thousands and thousands of dollars. Family, I will let my mechanic explain to you the repairs that Big Pearl needs.
Joint need everything. Muffler, transmission, tires, alternator, oil change, coolant, everything.
The old rhythm of living, the old reflexes, not because you force yourself, but because they no longer fit. Listen very carefully. From this moment on, you do not need to prove to anyone that you have changed. You also do not need to convince yourself. Real change does not need to be repeated aloud. Dream small. If you feel a slight tightness in your chest when you hear this, don't rush to escape. That is a sign you are touching the right layer. The layer you have felt for a long time but never peeled back. And this is very important. You are not the only one living under this pressure. But not everyone is willing to look directly at it. Many people run by staying busy. Many numb themselves with entertainment. Many blame circumstances. You are. Take a deep breath. Don't fast forward. Don't leave. Don't let your mind run ahead. From this moment on, what is happening is no longer listening to content. This is a deliberate interruption point. There are doors in life that do not require keys. They only require the right person at the right time. And if you arrive late, there is no one standing there to explain why the door has closed. This moment is one of those doors. A part of you may be doubting. You may have heard many similar things before. You may be asking yourself, so what? I am not asking you to believe immediately. I am only asking you to stay, because what is happening is not meant to convince your logic. It is touching a deeper layer, where you have felt something was off for a very long time, but could not name it. If you feel slightly uncomfortable hearing these words, do not resist it too quickly. This discomfort is not resistance. It is friction. Friction happens when something touches the exact point. I want you to understand one very important thing before we continue. You were not called here to be comforted. You are not here to be soothed. And you are not here to hear generic words. You are here because an old order is being dismantled, and that always feels uncomfortable. But if you pass through this moment without turning back, what follows will not resemble anything you have heard before. Right now, I need you to do one more thing. Place your hand on your chest, just for 1 second, and ask yourself honestly, what in my financial life has been repeating for too long? Do not answer out loud. Just recognize it. The moment you recognize it, you have crossed the first step that many people never manage to take. They keep running, keep staying busy, keep hoping vaguely. You do not. You stopped. That is why this part exists, not to explain, but to interrupt the rhythm. And when the old rhythm is interrupted, something else finally has space to appear. But I will tell you this in advance, so you are not caught off guard. The next part will not be gentle. It will name the invisible pressures you have grown used to carrying. It will touch thoughts you once considered normal. And if you stay, you will begin to see clearly why not everyone is called when things are shifting. Some people are only informed after everything has been settled. You are hearing it ahead of time. That is not a privilege. It is a responsibility. Do not go anywhere. If you have made it this far, stay a little longer. This part has only just opened the door. What comes next will place you face to face with a truth that many people avoid their entire lives. And if you are brave enough to listen, the entire life is the midpoint, where you are no longer blind, but not yet pulled into action. Now I want you to do one more thing. Imagine what you just chose not as a problem, but as a circle. You have walked this circle again and again. No need to ask why. No need to blame anyone. Just look. And if you look long enough, you will realize one thing. It is not that the circle is too strong. It is that there has never been a cut point. This stopping point is that cut point. Not loud, not dramatic, not a grand declaration. Just that you are no longer running on inertia. And this may sound simple, but it is extremely rare. If at this moment you feel slightly empty, slightly calm, or slightly uncomfortable, don't worry. That is a sign you have stepped out of automatic mode. When a machine that has been running non-stop is cut off from power, it doesn't stop smoothly at once. It trembles lightly. Human beings are the same. At this stopping point, I want you to remember one very short sentence. I don't need to run anymore. Not to give up, but to regain the right to choose direction. You don't say this sentence out loud. Just acknowledge it inside. Do not expect immediate results. Do not expect excitement. A stopping point does not create a peak emotion. It creates space. And only when there is space can something new enter. Many people who reach this point will begin to feel impatient. They want to get to the action part. They want to get to the declaration. They want to get to the change. But if you rush, you will only change the surface. We do not do that here. Stay in this stopping point for a few more breaths. No need to do anything. No need to think anything else. Just be here, because the next part will not stop anymore. The next part will cut. Cut what has repeated. Cut what has dragged. Cut what has held you for too long. And if you do not pass through this stopping point, that cut will not hold. Don't leave. If you have come this far, you have done what many people never do. You stopped at the right moment. The next part is where the pattern is no longer named, but ended. From this moment on, we no longer stop. The stopping point has completed its task. What needed to be seen has been seen. What needed to be recognized has been named. Now is the cut. No negotiation, no delay, no repetition. Listen to me very clearly. You did not enter this part to understand more. You entered to end it, not with emotion, not with hope, but with authority. Right now, I tell you directly without circling. There are things in your life that no longer have the right to exist. They have existed not because they are strong, but because you have never stood in the position to say enough. And that position is now. I am not asking whether you are ready, because if you were not ready, you would have left in the previous part. If you are hearing these words, you are standing in the right place. Listen, and at the same time establish within yourself. I cut off the cycle of lack that has repeated in my life, not softened, not adjusted, not gradually improved. I cut the pattern of money coming in and going out, effort without reward, prolonged waiting, hope left hanging. These things no longer have the right to continue, not because I am angry, but because I am clear. I cut off every word, whether from others or from myself, that planted the idea that I was born to live in tension. That idea is nullified. No argument, no negotiation. I cut off the feeling of always having to brace myself when money appears. I cut off the defensive reflex, the fear of loss reflex, the rushed reflex. These reflexes once helped me survive, but they are no longer allowed to lead. Listen carefully. You do not cut by shouting. You cut by no longer agreeing. And from this moment on, I no longer agree with any structure that keeps me in a constant state of lack. I cut off every delay disguised under the name waiting for the right time. Timing does not come to those who do not step into its position. And I step into that position now. I cut off the connection between money and guilt, between money and tension, between money and fear. Money is no longer a threat, no longer a test, no longer a source of anxiety. The old connection is dismantled. Listen very carefully to this part. I cut off not only what I can see, I cut off even what I have felt but never named. Vague pressures, wordless fears, invisible limits. All of them lose control. I cut off the family pattern where money is always tied to exhaustion. I do not fight the past. I do not carry it forward. That chain stops with me. I cut off self-doubt every time an opportunity appears. I cut off the habit of shrinking myself before anyone else does. No more. I say this not to convince anyone. I say it to establish it. From this moment on, every structure that causes me to be 20 DC, keep running without arriving, keep trying without keeping, keep hoping without stability, is dismantled. If you feel your body becoming lighter or slightly empty, that is a normal response. When something is cut, space appears. And many people fear space, so they return to old patterns. You will not. Hear me clearly. This space is not loss. It is space. And this space is not to be filled with haste. Do not try to replace it immediately. Do not try to create something new. This part does not build. This part only cuts. If you build too early, you will build on the old foundation. We do not do that. Stay in this moment for one more beat. No need for strong emotion. No need for further declarations. Just know this. Something has ended. Not with drama, but with decision. Many people think change means adding something new. The truth is, deep change always begins with something no longer continuing. And that has just happened. The next part will not speak about cutting anymore, because the cutting is done. The next part will speak about movement, not effort, not force, but a new order beginning to operate on a foundation that has been cleared. Don't leave. If you leave now, you will leave a moment that very few people are clear enough to walk through completely. Stay. We have just broken the old loop, and the new loop is preparing to open. If you are waiting for an explosion, a surge of emotion, or a dramatic sign, you will miss the most important thing, because real movement is quiet. It does not push you forward. It places you in the right position. Listen carefully. After the cut, the first thing is not addition. The first thing is reordering, not externally, but internally. And when the inner order shifts, the outer world has no choice but to follow. From this moment on, you are no longer in a state of running. You enter a state of positioning. You are not searching for money. You are not chasing opportunities. You are standing in the right place for the flow to come to you. This difference is subtle, but it changes everything. Before, whenever you thought about money, your body tightened. Not because money was bad, but because the order inside you was wrong. Now that order is changing. You begin to feel clearer thinking, deeper breathing, decisions that are slower but more accurate. Not because you are trying, but because pressure has withdrawn. This is how movement begins. Not through big actions, but through silence in the right place. When you are no longer in a defensive reflex, your mind begins to see what was previously hidden. Small but correct opportunities, quiet but clear ideas, steps that are not rushed but have direction. Listen carefully to this. Opportunities do not come to those who run fast. They come to those who stand in the right order. You have run enough. Now is the moment when the flow changes direction. From this new state, you no longer make decisions from fear of lack. You no longer choose because at least this will do. You begin to choose because it is aligned, clear, sustainable. And the strange thing is, when you choose this way, what is not aligned falls away on its own. No need to cut further. No need to struggle. It simply can no longer reach you. This is the sign of real movement. You are no longer pulled by what once pulled you, not because you are stronger, but because the hook has been removed. You may not see money increase immediately, and that is completely normal. Movement does not begin with numbers. It begins with inner stability, while the numbers have not yet changed. If before you always panicked when looking at your account, now you look and you do not panic. This difference is the foundation. Listen carefully to this sentence and do not skip it. Money does not stay where there is panic. Money stays where there is order. And that order does not come from external control, but from an inner state that has stabilized. In this new state, you begin to realize some things you once thought were bad luck were simply no longer aligned. Some doors that once closed no longer need to be opened because you have changed direction. You no longer ask, when will money come? You begin to ask, what is being arranged so that the flow can move through me? This question changes the way you see everything. Pay attention to something very subtle over the next few days. You will find yourself less triggered, less comparison, less urgency, less self-doubt. Not because you are numb, but because energy is no longer leaking. When energy does not leak, it accumulates. And where there is accumulation, flow can enter. This is where many people make a mistake. They feel better and rush back into the old rhythm. They do too much, say too much, decide too quickly, and then they disrupt the new order. You will not. Hear this clearly. The new order is very calm, but very sensitive. It does not need you to push. It needs you to hold. Hold the rhythm, hold the clarity, hold the space. If right now you feel a strange sense of peace, do not try to explain it. That is the sign that you are no longer resisting the flow. And when you do not resist, the flow begins to move through you. From here on, what comes to you will come in a different way. Not overwhelming, not chaotic, not accompanied by panic. It comes just enough, on time, in order. And you will realize this is the first time you receive without trembling. But listen carefully to one gentle warning. When the flow begins, the challenge is no longer lack. The challenge is maintaining order when there is more. And that is why the next part exists. In the next part, we will seal this, not with promises, not with emotion, but with structure, so that what has begun to move does not leak, does not self-sabotage, does not turn back. Don't leave. You have come too far to return to the old way. The next part is where the flow is held and stabilized. If you think the hardest part is cutting, you will be surprised. The hardest part is not breaking. The hardest part is holding. Many people have escaped one loop only to fall into another because they did not know how to seal it. And this part exists so that does not happen to you. Listen very carefully. When the new order begins to operate, everything looks very calm. No noise, no tension, no pressure. It is this calm that makes many people careless. They think it's done, and they relax the wrong way. Sealing is not tightening up. Sealing is setting clear boundaries, not boundaries with others, but with yourself. From this moment on, you need to understand something very important. What is beginning to come to you is no longer threatened by lack. It is threatened by old habits returning. Habits like spending fast when you see extra, deciding in a rush when things feel okay, talking too much when it isn't necessary yet. Not because you are bad, but because you were never taught how to hold order when there is more. Sealing starts here. I close every leak of energy that once made me tired even before I lacked. Leaks like scattered thinking, unconscious comparison, self-doubt when things start going well. These things no longer have the right to interfere. Listen carefully to this sentence. Not every opportunity needs to be taken. Not every